It's Wednesday, October 20th, 1999. Microsoft surprises Wall Street with big earnings. Could it help drive a tech turnaround? An amazing finish to the playoffs late last night, but it's the Braves, not the amazing Mets, that are going to the World Series. And an internet site that calculates your date of death. It's just one of the worst and best sites on the web that we'll list for you. Those stories making news early today.
This is Early Today with Nanette Hansen reporting.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Early Today. As the sun rises on Wall Street this morning, so will expectations about where the market is headed, thanks in part to some positive news late yesterday from tech giant Microsoft. This morning, some hope Microsoft's impressive earnings will bring added confidence back to a market that has seen big ups and downs of late. CNBC's Martha McCallum takes a look at the hard numbers.
There was nothing soft about Microsoft's earnings. The company beat the street by a healthy 4-cent margin. First quarter profits hit 38 cents a share compared to an estimate of 34 cents. Revenues totaled $5.4 billion, up nearly 30% from a year ago and slightly ahead of expectations. The company credited strong demand for personal computers for driving up its profits and offered an unusually positive look ahead. CFO Greg Maffei said, quote, "We saw excellent PC unit growth, particularly in Asia, and we expect that trend to continue in the December quarter." Microsoft also saw strong corporate demand for Office 2000 software and Windows NT Server applications. The software giant also said that its highly anticipated and long-delayed Windows 2000 operating system will be released to manufacturers by the end of this year. Microsoft left a bit of mystery where Q2 is concerned. They did not say when Windows 2000 would be available to customers, but they did say that analysts could raise their estimates up to 3 cents for the quarter. Martha McCallum for Early Today.
Microsoft's earnings may help the tech-heavy NASDAQ return to positive territory. It closed down almost a full point. The Dow, on the other hand, ended 88 points higher, in part because of yesterday's positive report on inflation. The broader S&P index also ended higher at 1261. The market should take a healthy interest in IBM's earnings. They're due out today. Bob Sellers is in the CNBC newsroom with more on what's up with Big Blue. Good morning to you, Bob.
Good morning, Nanette. Yeah, IBM is one of the Dow's most watched stocks, of course. They're expected to report their earnings after the bell today. Investors have been concerned about the poor sales of both IBM's small and large computer systems. Traders also think the company could be hurt by Y2K problems. A couple of other big earnings reports due out today. Dow component DuPont and internet leader AOL. We talked about Dell Computer yesterday, you recall, and they're warning that higher chip prices would cut into profits, while the company's stock was off 2 3/4 points yesterday in trading. And a follow-up to two closely watched IPOs yesterday, Martha Stewart nearly doubled its offering price, finishing at 35.5, and the World Wrestling Federation, ready to rumble yesterday, closed at 25.25. And finally, online broker E-Trade and GM's Oldsmobile division are offering a way to make $1 million on the market. It's a contest paying $1 million to the person who can correctly guess where the Dow will close on the last trading day of the millennium. You have to get within 1/100th of a point. So there's a way to make some extra money on the site.
Oh, gee, they're making it real easy for us, too.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if there's a limit to how many times you could submit. You could just put in a lot of submissions, but I guess they're going to keep that from happening somehow.
Bob, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, some of the other stories we're following this morning. President Clinton and congressional leaders have made headway in their budget battle. Both sides met last night at the White House and agreed not to use Social Security surpluses to pay for new federal spending. They also say they will try to reach a budget agreement within the next week.
This is a moment we've been looking for. We're rolling up our sleeves and we're going to work out the remaining details and disagreements, and that's the way it should be. And I'm glad we finally had this meeting.
The nation's budget was due about 3 weeks ago. Yesterday, Congress passed a bill to allow the federal government to stay open until next Friday. Now, speaking of Social Security, seniors will get a benefits boost in December after yesterday's report showed a modest rise in inflation. The cost of living increase on their benefit checks will go up 2.4%. That means the average monthly Social Security check goes up $19. It's the biggest increase in 3 years, yet overall the cost of living increase is one of the smallest in more than a decade. Hurricane Jose is on a path to Puerto Rico this morning, and it's gaining power along the way. Schools and offices shut down early yesterday so residents could run to the store and buy supplies, like bottled water, batteries, and canned food. In eastern North Carolina, Red Cross workers are going door to door to see how flood victims are coping with their crisis. More than 200 mental health volunteers are checking the emotional condition of thousands of people. Volunteers say 3 recent hurricanes have left many people living in constant fear. Well, the Atlanta Braves have done it. They'll be going to the World Series for the 5th time in a decade. They ended the Mets' miracle season last night when New York pitcher Kenny Rogers walked in the winning run in the 11th inning. Looks like it's going to be a repeat of what, the 96 series with the Yankees and the Braves?
That's right, yes. Another parade up Broadway. Good morning, Nanette. Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. We do have the Hurricane Jose. Now, Jose is still more than 60 miles east of Leeward Islands. That's about east of Guadalupe. It is packing winds of 80 miles an hour. It makes it a minimal hurricane, but still soaking rains of 5 to 10 inches will provide some very drenching situations there. The storm is moving northwestward at about 10 miles an hour, and at that rate, it'll cross the Leeward Islands midday today, and then where it goes after that, it looks like right now it ought to go north of Puerto Rico. Here's the situation right now. Along the eastern seaboard, it's cool. It's 48 degrees in the Boston area. We've got 50s in Chicagoland. The wet area right up and down the eastern seaboard today. So look for some airport delays, travel delays, all the way from Boston down through Orlando and Jacksonville. West of this, we're in pretty good shape. Temperatures will be cool and damp, 50s underneath these rain clouds, 44 degrees at Chicagoland, and 65 in Denver. That is the national weather. Now here's what's happening in your neighborhood. We'll find ourselves today with the West Coast being very warm. Seattle, another beautiful sunny day, 68 degrees for a high. And Santa Ana wind still below for Southern California, 87 degrees. And for Dallas-Fort Worth, partly cloudy, 75 by midday. So beautiful weather for most of the country, except for us, Nanette.
Oh, well, I guess we deserve it once in a while.
We need it once in a while, yes.
Thanks, Joe.
You bet.
Just ahead on Early Today, the best and the worst of the web. Learn the top sites on the internet and the ones you should avoid. The Wall Street Journal's Tom Herman joins us in the studio with tips on avoiding a tax trap. And no question is too silly. Learn the basics of investing in this week's Wall Street 101.
You're watching Early Today, your first look at business news.
Boundaries. From the very beginning, we have resented them. So what happens? Some of us grow up to be business people. And what do we face? More boundaries. The telecommunications boundaries that separate local from long distance, voice from data, domestic from global, and force you to accept separate carriers, separate networks, a blizzard of bills.
But there is a way through those barriers, right through here.
The port of entry to a seamless global network that lets you have one carrier, one contact, one bill, and makes it seem as though the old boundaries no longer exist.
Because for you, they won't.
OnNet from MCI WorldCom.
Gentle, Donald. Slowly. Okay. That's good.
How much you want for your pot? 500. 600.
Introducing Cozone.com, the place to find computer help and buy what's right for you.
Hey.
Pay yourself.
Cozone.com. We can help.
I will not underestimate the amount I'll need to retire comfortably.
Experts agree that once you retire, you'll still need 60 to 80% of your pre-retirement salary. Social Security or pensions won't even make up half of that. You need to determine where the rest of your retirement income will come from for the next 20 years or more.
Fidelity Retirement Income Planning will help you determine how a rollover and other investments work toward your retirement goals. Call 1-800-FIDELITY or visit fidelity.com to learn more.
Here's how trading is going in London as we speak. And in Tokyo, the Nikkei closed up 280 points at 17,534. Some financial planners say it's always the right time to invest, but tax planners may have different advice when it comes to mutual funds. Tom Herman is here to explain why he writes the Wall Street Journal's tax report. Good morning to you, Tom.
Good morning, Nanette.
What is this latest tax trap?
Well, if you're thinking about investing in mutual funds between now and the end of this year, watch out. Mutual funds are required by law to pay out all of their capital gains, and they usually do it around the end of each year, typically in December. If you invest now, you're going to get one of those payments, and that's fully taxable unless you're buying for a tax-deferred account. So the message is be very careful and check out those funds before you invest.
Who is affected here?
It's almost everybody who invests in a stock market fund or a balanced fund, which is a fund that invests in both stocks and bonds. It's almost everybody, whether you're wealthy or not so wealthy.
It sounds like a lot of people, so how can we avoid falling into the trap?
It's really very simple. Call the mutual fund and ask them what they're going to do this year. Ask them specifically how much you're going to pay out and when. If they don't want to tell you, put down the phone and find another fund. Once they tell you, then see if it's important to your taxes. If not, go ahead and make the investment if it's just a small amount of money. But if not, forget it.
Any other alternatives for investors?
Yes, you can choose another fund, or you can put your money into a money market fund and wait until after the distribution is paid. Or just forget it and put your money into a different fund altogether.
All right, Tom Herman, thank you very much. Good to have you here bright and
early
on Early Today.
You.
And of course, you can read more about tax issues in Tom's column on the front page of today's Wall Street Journal. Everybody get out your pen and paper because class is back in session. Just what you wanted to hear, right? The anchors from CNBC answer your questions in this week's edition of Wall Street 101. We're having a little problems getting our class in session. We will be right back and have it for you after the break.
Lately, day trading is the hot thing. Even my dentist is doing it. Hey, I don't look at managing my money as a hobby. I depend on people who do it for a living.
Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Inside Prudential.com, there's so much you can do and learn. Hear what our stock market experts are saying. Learn all about IRAs and 401ks. Get an instant life insurance quote, or even find a new home. Prudential.com has all kinds of interactive tools to help you save, plan, and invest. It's so easy to use. And there's always something new happening, from insurance to real estate to investments. It's all right here at Prudential.com.
Just because I'm retired doesn't mean my investment shouldn't keep growing. That's why I have Oppenheimer Funds. I have a lot of living yet to do.
Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Good. It's cooling off outside, but it's heating up at Harrelson Ford. While they last, get a 99 Taurus, only $14,697. A 2000 Ranger XLT Super Cab, only $13,898. Or a 2000 F-150 Super Cab, only $17,498.
Hi, I'm Lewis F. Harrelson. Shop any dealer anywhere. Get his best price. See me personally. I'll save you hundreds of dollars. That's a Lewis F. Harrelson guarantee.
Harrelson Ford, 6500 South Boulevard, Charlotte.
Led off with a double, and a pair of walks loaded the bases. With no margin for error, New York's Kenny Rogers walked Andrew Jones in a 3-2 count to bring home the game and series winner. Atlanta took it 10-9, capturing the series 4-2. Next up, the Yankees, starting Saturday in Atlanta. That's the Sports Wrap. I'm Mark Barker, NBC News.
Welcome back, everybody. Now your questions about the market answered by the pros at CNBC. Here's Wall Street 101.
Hi, I'm Lisa from London, and I would like to know why there's so many different financial markets in the States.
That's a good question. In fact, we checked with market historian Martin Mayer. According to him, once upon a time, stock trading was very much a regional activity. West Coast stocks, for example, tended to trade at the Pacific Stock Exchange. Those in the Midwest were at the Chicago Stock Exchange and so forth. Today, the regional exchanges still exist, partly because regulators like the competition, but also because they have found other things to trade, options, for example.
I'm Carolyn from Manhattan, and I wanted to know the difference between a no-load mutual fund and a load mutual fund.
Carol, a load mutual fund is one that charges some form of sales commission or another, usually ranging from 3% all the way up, in a few rare cases, to 8.5%. And that sales commission may come right off the top of your investment, in which case it's called a front-end load, or it may be charged in the form of a redemption fee when you take your money out. Now, a no-load mutual fund, by contrast, has absolutely no sales commission at all. But what no-load funds and load funds have are expenses, and those are the costs that you pay for the management of the portfolio.
My name is Travis Taylor. I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee, and I was just wondering all the hand gestures they do down on Wall Street when they're doing this trading. What does that mean?
Well, Travis, traders on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange don't use hand signals because they don't have to. They can communicate very easily, and it's easy to hear. On the bond trading floors, on the other hand, it's huge, and it's very hard to communicate and hear one another. So they use hand signals for price, size, and the clearinghouse which the trader is trading for.
Okay. In other news now, General Motors has avoided a strike by reaching a tentative agreement with its largest union in Canada. The 3-year contract with the Canadian auto workers is expected to include a 3% annual raise. A strike would have shut down factories that make parts for some of GM's U.S. factories. A judge has given hundreds of female Ford workers the right to join a sexual harassment and discrimination suit filed by 14 women. The Chicago workers say they were subjected to groping and name-calling. Ford paid out $17.5 million to settle an employment complaint just last month. The folks who fly jets for American Airlines want to be in the pilot's seat when it comes to running that company. Leaders of the pilots' union will reportedly vote next week on whether to explore a takeover of the company. The pilots have been feuding with the company for years. The Encyclopaedia Britannica changing the way it does business. It plans to offer the entire 32-volume set free on the internet at Britannica.com. The 231-year-old company has dumped door-to-door sales and will make money selling advertising on the site. More Americans, by the way, are getting their news on the net. The Pew Research Center says the internet news audience has doubled since January. And it says 11% of those polled said they rely on the web as one of their top 2 sources of news. The study also found 1 out of 4 Americans with web access check news on the internet every day. And if you had to choose the best sites on the internet, just where would you start? Our guest, Alan Hoffman, does it for you as he surfs the best and worst sites on the web when we come right back.
Promise you'll call me Captain.
I will, I promise.
Wherever you are and whatever you do, Allianz with its global partners is the power beside you.
Where will you be when the millennium turns? Your dreams change. So have we. Now Dean Witter and Morgan Stanley have joined to provide a world of investment advice on a personal level. The world will change, but at Morgan Stanley Dean Witter, we will always measure success, one investor at a time.
Kate works in the city of E, the first virtual place on the internet, built by SAP, used by 10,000 companies and millions of people. When she needs medical supplies, her choices are endless. The world is her market, and by saving hours of time and thousands of dollars, she helps save something more important than both. MySAP.com. Welcome to the city of E.
Your web page will even make you feel differently according to how it is positioned. For example, here, the yin is strong, coolness, peace. Whereas over here, the yang is there, powerful, hot. And now, up here, the computer's just happy.
Who designs your website is up to you. Hooking it up and delivering the goods, leave that up to us.
You'll ship everything. FedEx.
FedEx. Be absolutely sure.
Now our Early Today cover story, the best and worst of the web. We all have favorite sites on the internet, as well as those we stumble across and vow never to visit again. Now p.o.v. magazine has come up with a list of the 100 best sites on the internet, as well as some of the worst. Prisonbabes.com. We'll get to that in a minute. Joining us now is Alan Hoffman, contributor to p.o.v. magazine. Good to have you with us this morning.
Good to be here.
How'd you come up with the list?
Basically, I looked at about 10,000 websites last year.
10,000?
10,000. Just
had a little time on your hands, did you?
Not much. Got out an hour or two each day. Basically, just looking at thousands of sites, looking for ones that are both fun and useful.
What kind of theme did you come up with?
Basically, our theme this year is convergence, meaning that TV, film, radio are all being combined into one medium now. And you see that all over the web, where sites are adding video, audio, all different sorts of weird things.
Well, take us through some of them. The top three that you like, and I happen to like your number one pick, too, for obvious reasons. But
right.
Go ahead.
Our number one pick is broadcast.com, and this just epitomizes that convergence trend where film, TV, radio, you can watch a B movie 1 minute, and the next minute you can be listening to a police scanner from some city across the country.
And there we are looking at them. Amazon.com, of course, also really, really popular.
Yep, that's a site where it's no longer just a bookstore. It's really becoming the world's retailer. In fact, you can even set up your own store there. So it's something people can participate, and they can also buy things.
Alan, rounding out the top 100 or so, there are some that you picked in that category that are really not all that well known.
True. I mean, there's the site Card House, which just picks up these strange things from the world, like 55 found photos that someone found in a garbage can, and they put them up on the web.
What about Blair Witch? Is that sort of self-explanatory? Has something to do with the movie?
Yeah, it's the movie website, but it was this great marketing campaign for them, and also a pretty fun site on its own.
And what's the last one, number 100? What's that all about?
That's called Meme Pool, and it's basically a site that directs you to other sites. So we ended the list with a site that will take you to some other places.
Now, how about the worst? And some of them are kind of gross. We sort of didn't pick those to show you at this hour. But talk about prisonbabes.com. What's that about?
It is a site where anyone can go there. It's quite offensive. You can go there and you can find the name and address of a female prisoner to make your acquaintance for a small fee.
Okay, and there we are looking at some of them in very provocative poses. Quickly, deathclock.com, calculating when you're going to die. I did this morning, and I have like 1 billion seconds left to live.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah,
yep.
But it ticks backwards.
Exactly. It's a site which gives you a tool to use, and we liked it. It's a bad site, but it gives a lesson for people building websites, that if they put a tool on their site, they'll bring people there.
All right, Alan Hoffman, a contributor at p.o.v. magazine, thank you very much for coming in this morning. We appreciate your time this early hour, and it stands for Point of View, by the way. I'm Nanette Hansen, and this is Early Today on NBC.
This morning on Today, from our continuing series Forever Young, Life After 50. Should you be taking vitamins? We'll tell you what you need to know to stay healthy this morning on Today.
Coming up later today, a day of beauty with Bobbi Brown's makeup tips for women of all ages and the wildest trends in fall fashion. Coming up later today. It's like today, only later.